Hey, so it's been more than just a few minutes, but why not? Welcome to Reaction Time with just me, because I'm sick. And why not fucking let everyone else know, do everything else what I'm doing? Show everything. You're damn right, I'm sick. We're gonna have some fun. Damn right. Okay, boys. Now, this is also a question and answer. So, you ask the question, I'll answer. We're gonna react to horror stuff. Nothing too fancy, do what we usually do. TV controllers. That's important. What else would be important if you stopped using it? I didn't have to do nothing. Okay. Volume cranked up a little bit. Fart compilation. I think we're gonna top 15s. Okay, this is an interesting one. Police body cam videos.
Officer. This hero cop was credited for talking a man off a ledge. This man can be heard saying, "I can't do this anymore," while hanging off a fence over a bridge when Officer
So
John.
now obviously I can't read anything from here.
Please, man, don't.
So I'll see it.
From the bottom of my heart, do not do this. It's not worth it. It's not going to help anybody whatsoever.
"What can I help you with?" he asked. The man was preparing to jump off the bridge and onto the interstate. Cross paths with Officer Brooks. He wasn't going to let him. After a while of talking back and forth, he gained the man's trust.
Alright, you guys can ask away with whatever.
Help him back.
If it's personal, I will answer to the best of my abilities.
In a massive way. Number 14, side of the road. 26-year-old Dion Rivera's Mastaz and two women were found in a disabled SUV on the side of the road by Deputy Bradley Prolox on May 12, 2017, near Littleton, Colorado. When the officer approached, he was told that they didn't need assistance, as someone had been called to pick them up, and someone did, but for some reason they left Rivas Mestas behind. As the deputy approached the vehicle again, in order to suggest that he push the vehicle further off the road, this man got out of the SUV armed and came at him. The man fled to the front of the vehicle, where he can be heard rambling and wailing. While the officer waits for backup, thankfully Deputy Prolox was not harmed in the incident, and the man was sentenced to 16 years behind bars for his actions. Number 13, police officer arrested. A police officer from East Cleveland was taken into custody for operating a vehicle while under the influence on December 22nd, 2017. The police are seen knocking on Marsh's vehicle window and telling him to open it. He disregards this order. Instead, Marsh revs his engine while in park, prompting the officer to break the vehicle's back window. They then break into his passenger side door and order him to put his hands up. Finally, he listens. When Marsh gets out of the car, it's clear that he's been drinking. After taking him away, they then search the vehicle. The vehicle itself belonged to the City of East Cleveland Police Department. Marsh pled guilty to his actions on March 6,
There's only one of you, and the other one person isn't talking, so
body cam footage as evidence.
by all means talk. I don't care what's about.
Number 12, train tracks. An officer saved a man from getting run over by a train. The entire event was caught on his body cam. The officer is in his body cam footage running towards the train tracks, shouting at the man who is lying face down on the track.
Oh,
No! No! No!
As the train approaches at a fast rate, he is heard yelling at the man to move while signaling the train to stop. The man heeded the officer's warning and jumped away from the tracks and out of harm's way just as the train pulled to a stop in front of him. The officer is heard asking the man if he's okay, while the man thanks him. Apparently, this wasn't an attempt to take his own life. He had just fallen asleep on the tracks. Number 11.
that's
French
not smart.
protests. The protests in Paris over economic injustice remain strong for the fifth weekend in a row. Which
Falling asleep on a train track? How do you do that?
Protesters called the Yellow
Stupid.
Vests demonstrated in large numbers, requiring an 8,000 officer strong police presence. The police were ready for the protesters, however. Armored vehicles, plainclothes police, mounted police, and riot police were all there to break up the party. The protests were over frustration with the economic condition in France. The French president was forced to make tax concessions and promised to raise the minimum wage. As the chaos of this body cam footage shows, that was probably the right choice.
You think?
Number 10. Plot blocked. A massive plot was foiled in June of 2018 when 28-year-old Khaled Ali was caught red-handed. Ali was found to be plotting to take the lives of military personnel and police officers in London. Ali was watched closely for the next 6 months while the investigation was underway. The day before he was taken into custody in April of 2017, he'd been observed shopping and then discarding packages in a dumpster. The packaging was found to be containers for knives. CCTV footage showed Ali's movements in the preceding months, for which he spent hours observing sites like Downing Street, the Houses of Parliament, New Scotland Yard, and the MI6 offices. The body cam footage shows Ali's dramatic arrest on the streets of London. Ali is wearing a backpack. They search his jacket and his bag, where they find knives on his person. These heroes just prevented what could have been yet another horrific event in the UK. A job well done. Number 9. Campfire. The campfire, which originated on Camp Creek Road in Northern
Great. That's just
California,
awesome.
destroyed 150,000 acres and took the lives of 86 people. The
Oh,
video shows footage from Deputy Aaron Parmsley's body cam. As USA Today posts, this is footage from his search for 4 nurses in the Paradise, California wildfire. Parmley's car broke down, so he set out on foot through this fiery nightmare. Further in the video, a woman is heard saying, "Are they coming for us?" And then the light from a rescue vehicle is seen ahead. As someone does come for them, the officer and others luckily escape these massive flames. Whatever the case, the real heroes are first responders and officers like Aaron Parmsley. Number 8. Chris Watts' investigation. On
That's
August
weird.
12, 2018, Chris Watts took
No
the
way.
lives of his 2 children, 3-year-old Celeste and 4-year-old Bella, and his pregnant wife Shannon Watts. This body cam footage shows investigators approach Chris and ask if they can talk. After entering the home, they ask why one of the doors in the girl's bedroom is locked. And Chris opens it to reveal a bathroom. He says they normally keep it locked because the girls play in there when they wake in the morning. The investigators ask about the family's routine. Later, you see Chris pacing and holding himself as he rocks back and forth. While the policeman wearing a body cam is having a phone conversation. When he gets off the phone, he asks Chris if he told Shannon's mother that she went to a friend's house that day. Chris confirms this, but when he asks which friend, he says he doesn't know. A female friend of Shannon's in the video footage later asks the investigator what they should be doing. She asks if they should call hospitals and hotels, and the investigator encourages it. Chris Watts is seen standing silently by, his head bowed. Knowing what was later discovered makes this body cam footage all the more compelling to watch. Although it's easy to see body language and behaviors that suggest guilt after the fact, it would be interesting to know if the investigators in contact with Watts during this period could detect guilt in Watts' responses and behaviors. The policeman in the purple shirt sure seems to. Number 7.
Two.
Heroic rescue. When an apartment complex caught on fire, officers Matthew Sudeth and Corey Glasscock were there to save the day. The body cam footage shows their heroic efforts to save 2 people inside the building as the fire blazes. Just
That was just relaxing.
for saving the couple's lives and for their bravery in the face of danger. Number 6. Animal shelter rescue. In yet another wildfire in California, man's best friend was sadly trapped. This body cam footage from California police shows officers racing in to rescue
I've got
animals.
napkins out there.
SPCA
And just so I don't have that
fire
screen.
had started in Vacaville, California, and was approaching the SPCA, where dozens of animals, including cats, dogs, rodents, and snakes, were capped. The first officers on the scene were officers Kristen Jennings and Carly Stone. They quickly entered the facility and started crating cats and leashing dogs. While the fire continued to approach at only a few hundred feet, other officers, volunteers, and shelter employees aided in the rescue, loading the 60 animals into vehicles which carried them to safety. The footage shows the heroic efforts of the officers and civilians working as a team to save these animals. Number 5.
What's wrong with me?
Encounter. You've probably heard of 38-year-old Nassim Agham's horrific actions at YouTube headquarters.
Who's that one person watching?
California. But
Hey,
before that happened,
You
on
came
March
on pretty damn
31st,
fast.
Agham's family had
I can't
reported her
see ya.
missing, and her father had said that they feared she might be heading to the company's offices because of her disliking of YouTube. Police officers actually came into contact with her the morning prior to the incident. This video shows that encounter. The officers came across Agdam asleep in her car in a Mountain View Walmart parking lot, just 25 miles south of the company's headquarters. After running her plates, they found that she'd been reported missing. The police officers in the footage are very kind and professional in their approach. They tell her that she was reported missing by her family. She claims that she left because she didn't get along with her family. After their interview with Agdam, she is let go and she's not identified as a threat. Unfortunately, she was. As YouTuber Abelard Lindsay notes in the comments, these cops handled this very professionally in a very friendly, non-confrontational manner. We can't always know what is in the souls of those around us. True of this encounter and many on this list. Number 4. Baby Lily. 18-month-old baby Lily was found hanging upside down in a vehicle after her mother, 25-year-old Lynn Grosbeck, flipped her car into Spanish Fork River in Utah. It was winter and the incident had occurred 14 hours before anyone discovered it, and yet Lily survived. The body cam footage shows a firefighter lifting the baby from the car and handing her to a police officer who, holding Lily close to his chest to warm her, races up to the bank to get her to an ambulance. They get her into the ER, and that's when Lily first opens her eyes as CPR is being performed. Apart from the police and rescuers, the thing that saved her was her car seat. It held her above the frigid water, where she remained for 14 hours in the cold. It's scary to think what might have happened if a fisherman had not gone fishing near the spot of the incident that morning.
Yeah.
The temperatures were so frigid, and especially the water, that 7 of the rescuers were later treated from the cold exposure. Number 3. SWAT streamer. If you spend a good amount of time gaming or streaming, you probably know what swatting is. Streamers in particular are targeted because the horrible prank can then be watched live by followers as a source of entertainment. This is one of those cases. When a call to 911 claimed to involve a hostage situation, 9 Seattle police officers swarmed the high-rise building in question. The male caller said he wanted $5,000 in return for 5 people he was holding at the location. The body cam footage of this incident shows officers outside the apartment discussing the call. One of the officers says the call had come from an online phone app, and another officer says it sounds like a hoax to him. Regardless, they must take the situation seriously. Getting into position, the head officer pounds on the door, announces himself, and asks if anyone's home. A young woman responds inside, which disarms police. When she answers the door and is asked if anyone's inside, she responds, "Just my cat." The officer was right. This was a fake call. Luckily for this woman, the incident did not end quite as dramatically as other cases. Number two, man's best friend. When a police dog from the Pasco County Sheriff's Office K9 unit was put on the scent of someone suspected of taking a child, he was hot on the trail. This body cam footage shows Titan, the K9, tracking the suspect from a home near Tampa. 24-year-old Kevin Wilson had attempted to take a child after climbing into a home through a second floor window. He then had it out with a woman inside the home, took the child, and attempted to flee, but not before the child's uncle, who was armed, faced off with Wilson in the front yard of the home. Wilson then abandoned the child and fled by car, totaled his vehicle, and entered the woods. That's when police began their search via canine units and helicopter.
Damn right,
Titan, the
dogs are
dog,
cool.
was the first one to reach him.
Yeah,
The footage shows a deputy ordering the man to his stomach.
it's weird how I
while
just got
Titan grabs a hold of his arm. One
Don't
more
really
victim
like
became
that.
man's best friend. A no contact order had been put in place, which Wilson had breached. He was charged with violating this order. Before we get to number one, my name is Chills and I hope you're enjoying my narration. If you're curious about what I look like in real life, then go to my Instagram at DylanIsChillinYT and tap that follow button to find out. It's a proven fact that generosity makes you a happier person. So if you're generous enough to hit that subscribe button and the bell beside it, then thank you. This way, you'll be notified of the new video we upload every Tuesday. Number one, Pulse. June 12, 2016 saw a horrific event in the United States when 29-year-old security guard Omar Mateen entered the Pulse nightclub.
Who is
in
that one
Orlando,
person
Florida.
that's not talking?
In the end, he took the lives of 49
Speak,
people.
fool.
At the time, the incident involved a 3-hour standoff with police.
On
Some of which
food.
was captured on body cam. On the night in question, 320 people were inside the club at around 2 a.m., which is when Mateen approached Pulse well armed. The security guard at the door attempted to engage him, but Mateen managed to bypass him, entered the building, and immediately began his attack. According to the Orlando Sentinel, 34 body cam videos were released on June 9, 2017, to give a clearer picture of the night's events unfolding. As you can see in the video, a number of officers at the scene are directing those fleeing the nightclub across to safety. As you might imagine, all this body cam footage is harrowing and scary to watch. Those who live through this event will be affected by it for the rest of their lives.
Thanks, Captain.
Thanks for checking out this video. Be sure to subscribe because we upload new countdowns every Tuesday and Saturday.
Yeah.
Number 15, passenger anger. After allegedly being aggressive, refusing to put on his seatbelt, and not being able to give clear direction due to too much to drink, this passenger was ordered out of an Uber by driver Edward Caban. That's when things got ugly. The passenger is shown in this dash cam footage going after Caban with brute force. Luckily, the driver was able to use his pepper spray before he could do much worse. The passenger was allegedly fired from his executive position at Taco Bell because of the published footage. Number 14, Vegas Beware. The title of this video claims this is an Uber and Lyft driver, William Demick, from Las Vegas, but a news source says he was a cab driver. Anyways, he was taken by surprise when his seemingly routine pickup turned cutthroat. His passenger took him in a hold and held him there for over 4 minutes. All the while, he had the man in the hold. He told him to give him all of the money in the car. Demick had just started his shift, so there was none. but he couldn't tell the man this as he couldn't breathe. The man was finally satisfied with the $38 he was given, and satisfied enough to take off anyway. After researching this list, one thing's for sure, it's a scary world for drivers. Number 13, Possessed Girl. Casey Tech published this footage in June of 2017, writing, Uber driver has possessed girl in car. The video starts off with your everyday average Uber pickup. It's late at night and the Uber is waiting for his passengers outside a club or other venue. When one of the passengers approaches, their friend is being held to the vehicle by a policeman and another man. As the clear-headed friend texts, barely looking up from her phone, at first she is completely oblivious to her friend, whose head is rolling around and body is writhing as though she's possessed. But after a while, it's hard to be oblivious to the garbled outbursts and the body flinging around the back seat. The poor Uber driver just stays silent, glancing back concernedly every now and then. The girl then flings herself forward, slamming her face into the passenger seat, while her friend tries to control her movement again and find her phone, which she dropped on the floor. Finally, the friend has had enough when she continues to fling herself around and tries again to open the door. It's clear this woman has had way too much to drink, and that probably explains her scary behavior. Regardless, you can't help but feel bad for this Uber driver. Hopefully, everyone was alright. Number 12, Heist in Atascocita. In February of 2018, a 51-year-old female Uber driver was driving her vehicle around at 1 a.m. when a dark Toyota 4Runner blocked her at an intersection in Atascocita, Texas. Two men got out of the vehicle, one of them armed, and came up to the Uber driver's side window. The man that was armed told her he would take her life if she didn't give him all her money.
No, I don't have anything. What have you got? I don't have anything, dude. Give me your phone.
The Uber driver responded that she clearly didn't have any money since she drives for Uber. The man didn't let that stop them. One of them opened her car door and searched her back seat, looking for anything of value to take. After they took what they wanted and left, the driver phoned the police, holding tightly to her dog. But her scary ordeal was not over. During her call, the men drove by and fired at her.
What? And Eagle Springs, I just
This entire event was caught on video, as the Uber driver had two cameras installed in her car. Thankfully, she made it out of this awful situation unharmed, and the men were caught on security camera trying to use the driver's credit card at a gas station. Both suspects were later taken into custody.
Idiots. They got him good.
This passenger starts out loud and ends up very aggressive. After asking if his Uber driver could turn him back around, the passenger soon gets foul with his language and incoherent, and he starts screaming loudly and repeatedly. The man is clearly on something as he sits up in the back seat and starts putting hands on the driver. He asks the driver again and again to turn around. At one point, the driver pulls to a stop and tells him he's got to get out of the car. And after they agree that the man will stop touching him instead, the Uber driver appears to be turning the vehicle around, saying he'll take the passenger back to the spot he was at, while the man continues to scream. The passenger apologizes repeatedly, but then goes back to touching the driver and screaming. At last, the driver pulls over and opens the back door, telling the man that he's got to get out. After a long period of time, the passenger finally abides, and the driver is back on his way again. Number 10, road rage encounter. Road rage on your own is scary enough, but when in an Uber as a responsible driver, you also have your passengers to worry about. The dashcam video of this Uber trip shows two women in the back seat directing their driver to their destination in the middle of the night. However, en route, things go haywire after a white car speeds up to pull around their vehicle and then slows to a stop and parks in the middle of the road. The driver of the white car jumps out and races over, tapping on the driver's side window.
What's that?
Just go. Go around. Go.
The sound is a bit mumbled, but what is audible is the guy ordering the driver to get out of the car. The driver refuses, and the passengers in the back seat tell him to just go. A female passenger in the white car also gets out, but doesn't come forward. As they turn around, the passengers see the other driver is also backing up, so they decide to call the police. After explaining the situation, the offending vehicle is pursued by the police, while the Uber waits it out. Another policeman pulls up while the other car is nabbed, and again the passengers explain what happened. After watching the video, it's still unclear what the Uber driver did to cause the other driver to road rage, but it is clear that this thing could have escalated much further had the police not come to the rescue.
Okay,
Number
if you have
9.
that bad, if you rage that bad on the road, then you don't
Driver
should
had
be
his
behind the wheel.
set up as a dash cam. As you
Simple.
probably tell, it's important for drivers to record their services, just in case events like this or others on this list occur. What happens next is difficult to distinguish. You can hear a noise as the men get out of the car. One of them allegedly grabs some money off the driver's center console and tried to get away with it, but the driver wasn't having it. He got out of his vehicle to pursue the man. Luckily, he wasn't harmed and he was able to call the police and report the incident.
It sucks.
Number 8, making chops. What happens when you're delivering a group of passengers to their destination and one of them decides to set up a deal en route? That's what allegedly happened when an Uber driver picked up these 4 men. The men had asked the Uber driver if they could stop to pick up a set of keys during their trip, but when the driver did so, the passenger appeared to pass off an object to a passing pedestrian. When the passerby left, the Uber driver's suspicions led him to politely request that the man exit his vehicle.
Not knocking me off. Come on, bro. Get out.
That wasn't keys, buddy, the driver says in the video. One of the passengers refuses to get out, but after the driver insists and says he'll call the police, they all start to leave. The passenger who ordered the Uber, however, stays inside and tells the man to cancel the fare, even threatening him if he sees any charges on his account.
You gotta do a cancellation or whatever you gotta do, but I'm letting you know. If I see any charges on my shit, we're gonna have to, you can call whoever the fuck you wanna call. It's probably just you to call, because I'm gonna start really getting this.
The driver eventually cancels the trip after things escalate and exits the vehicle himself, while the 4th man remains inside. That is, until one of his friends pops his head in and tells him to get out of the car. Luckily, the exchange ends there, at least on the video. Number 7, throwing stones.
Talking all big. I'd have said you touch me now, you call police.
Inside the car.
I'd have called the police right
Show
away.
what happens when angry passengers disembark. This trip was cut short in California after the Uber driver had had enough of his passengers' antics. According to the driver, there were 4 passengers in his car, all of whom apparently had been drinking. One of the women in the back seat was attempting to climb into the front seat, which is when he issued this warning to his passengers to sit down or he'd kick them out of his vehicle. The driver told ABC 10 News that the passenger was grabbing the shifter and the emergency brake. Although he warned them, she didn't sit down, so the driver pulled into the parking lot of a restaurant and kicked them out as promised. 1 male passenger and 2 female passengers exit the vehicle, but you can hear some banging, which the driver claims was the 4th passenger kicking and kneeing the car.
Really?
The last passenger finally gets out and leaves, but not before throwing rocks at the vehicle. According to ABC 10 News, the passenger caused $2,000 worth of damages to the Uber. That's one expensive ride. Number 6.
Idiot.
Uber drivers versus cabbies. Though we wish we could see the dash cam footage from this incident, it's sadly unavailable on the internet. But this video is too bizarre not to analyze. It shows an angry anti-Uber protester in Toronto, published by CBC News in December 2015. The video's description reads, "Emotions erupt on busy downtown Toronto street during anti-Uber demonstration by taxi drivers. The protester in the video points out a car saying it's an Uber. He then goes around to the driver's side door and pounds on it. As the driver inside shouts and attempts to drive away, while the man hangs on. Surprisingly, he continues to hang on. As the car drives off, lifting his legs and being carried away by the Uber,
Gotta drug him.
the Uber then pulls to a stop to let the protester abandon his post. But the man continues to pound on the driver's window, so he drives off again, this time without his unwanted customer. The man says he was just trying to get his point across. Although it doesn't appear that the protest succeeded, or that Uber will be going away anytime soon, at least this man got a free ride out of the deal."
Uber's sketchy sometimes.
Number 5. Florida law. Florida's Stand Your Ground law enables a person to defend him or herself against perceived threats or actual threats. This case of an Uber driver in Florida taking the life of a man was dubbed the classic Stand Your Ground case by authorities. The driver in question, Robert Westlake, had been allegedly harassed by another driver, Jason Boack, who began following him. Westlake had earlier picked up a woman who Boack believed to be his sometimes girlfriend, causing Boack to text her, saying he was going to go after her Uber driver. The dashcam video shows just what happened. The Ford pickup driven by Boack pulls in front of Westlake and slows down, causing a standstill. Boack then exits the vehicle and proceeds to say he's armed. He appears to be holding something in his hand. As he approaches, Westlake opens fire, with one shot going into Boack's chest. The item in Boack's hand ended up being a cell phone. The Uber driver, who is a licensed armed security guard and possessed a concealed carry permit, phoned the police and started CPR on Boack. Authorities at the Polk County Sheriff's Office believe Westlake was justified in his action.
Absolutely.
Number 4. Getaway driver. Although as an Uber driver, you probably
Absolutely.
expect to have
He's
some
defending
crazy
himself.
characters once in a while. You might not
That's what you get if you road rage.
to a bank heist.
It's
That's what
freaking,
happened
you
to
don't know
Uber
what those guys
driver
have in the cars.
He picked up suspect Enrique Antonio Gamez, who the FBI later charged. After the Uber driver live streamed the incident on Facebook, the man walked into the bank wearing a suit and carrying a jacket under which he claimed was an explosive device. With this, he calmly ordered the teller to give him cash or else. The man's Uber driver, Mike, an ex-Marine, took to Facebook to live stream 3 videos of the scene. The man ranted and raved about why he should have the money, claiming he wanted to give it to the poor. Like some modern-day Robin Hood, it also requested to speak before Congress. He was given $11,000 by the bank manager in a pink envelope, after which he left. The streaming continued in the car when the Uber driver was asked by the man to take him to Ocean Drive. When he arrived at his destination, he started throwing the money up into the air as strangers descended upon it, all very happy to be gifted with free cash. Unfortunately, the modern-day Robin Hood didn't seem to be as suave and cognizant as he thought. In June of 2017, court records indicated he would claim the insanity defense at his trial. Number 3. Self-driving Uber. This dashcam footage from March of 2018 shows a self-driving Uber hit and take the life of a pedestrian who was walking her bicycle across the street. During the incident, the human backup driver appeared distracted. The police report claimed that the driver had been streaming the voice at the time of the collision. The footage shows both the forward view of oncoming traffic and the incident, as well as the rear view of the backup driver's reaction. The driver was on auto drive when the incident occurred. The driver said that the pedestrian came out of nowhere and she had slammed on the brakes, but it was too late. Number 2.
Oh crap, she's asleep watching the thing.
Yet another potentially life-taking mistake from a driverless vehicle. Uber was set to launch self-driving vehicles in San Francisco, but not before this video of the self-driving one went viral. The Uber, with its sensors, top-of-the-line technology, drove through an intersection around 3 seconds after the light turned red. A pedestrian was just about to cross the crosswalk at the time. According to an Uber spokesperson, the traffic violation was human error, not the fault of technology. The spokesperson said that the human backup driver who was operating the vehicle at the time had since been suspended. What do you think?
I think that's a cover-up. We don't need no driverless vehicles.
Before we get to number 1, my name is Chills, and I hope you're enjoying my narration. If you're curious about what I look like in real life, then go to my Instagram at DylanIsChillinYT and tap that follow button to find out.
Hey,
Proven fact
Mr.
that
Chocolate, what's
generosity
up?
makes you a happier person. So if you're generous enough to hit that subscribe
We're
button
just
and the bell
watching
beside
videos.
it,
You're
then
doing a
thank you.
question.
This way you'll be
Question and
notified of
answer.
a new video we upload every Tuesday. Number 1, very scary encounter. You never know who you're going to get as a passenger. Though Ralph Valletta is a cab driver, this entry needs to be talked about.
To be honest, if you guys are going to be an Uber driver, you should always carry at least like $30 or something. So then, if somebody doesn't want money, all you do, you empty your wallet and give it to them. As much as you don't want to, you don't. It's not worth the time.
Luck of anyone, apart from maybe his driver, who had had this happen to him twice before on the job. At the same time that Valletta was being shaken down,
That's
the
funny.
red light they were stopped at switched to green, and noticing that the cab didn't move, Berks County Sheriff's Deputy Terry Eli, who had just so happened to be behind the cab, started flashing his lights. He approached the vehicle and seeing what was going down, ordered the robber out of the cab and on the ground.
So who's the one person watching? Are you not going to talk?
Then he called for backup. Valletta called the deputy a lifesaver. No truer words have ever been spoken. Thanks for checking out this video. Be sure to subscribe because we upload new countdowns every Tuesday and Saturday. Or if you're still not convinced, here are some of our other videos that I think you'd like. Enjoy.
Nuke's top 5.
Top 5 mysterious creatures caught on tape. Wessex Way Monster. Wessex Way Monster has become a local legend in some parts
Just trying to relax here after,
in 2007, a closed-circuit traffic camera caught a very strange and unexplainable creature crossing the road.
Dealing with shit. You know.
Since this video, there have been multiple reports of the strange Wessex Way Monster.
Like I said, it's just mostly being lied to. And if you like go back to the video, the first video I was doing, Out of Commission, you can see what I have to deal with everybody involved with that. It's ridiculous.
Is this some strange
They
creature?
did nothing
or just
wrong.
an elaborate hoax? Let me know in the comments.
When I say unloyal, you should know. And not to get anything detailistic with it.
Tiny humanoid creatures that live among us that keep out of sight, hiding in the shadows.
I'm not talking about just, you know, a bunk in or a one in thing. We're going on for 11 months, and it wasn't just. And when I say sleep, you kids should know what I mean.
In Central and South
Not
American
bunking in
folklore,
together.
duendes are believed to be dangerous little creatures who have a particular dislike of children. Central American stories show duendes who live in the bedroom walls of young children and sneak out at night to harm or injure them in some way.
Yeah.
In South America, duendes are said to lure young girls and boys into the forest, causing them to lose their way home. Basically, duendes are considered to be little annoying creepers.
Well,
This next
annoying.
video supposedly shows 2 children playing with a video camera and encountering a duende in their home.
Ay, Christopher, ven a más. ¿Estás lento? ¿Sí?
Yeah, I mean, That's what I gotta deal with, and that's on a daily basis. Even when I'm doing a live stream, there's one person watching and they're not talking. I don't know if it's one of her friends watching me, wanting to see if I say anything wrong. I don't know. It was just kind of weird how all of them just suddenly. Oh. Whoa, there, the kids. How all of them suddenly came on.
Beach area that is located on the eastern end
It's,
of Long Island. Basically, strange creatures seem to occasionally just wash up on the Montauk shore. The phenomenon has become so common that the creatures have been
I
found in Montauk months.
guess it's gone down to the fact that I've just kind of started to get tired of watching what I say, like to a point. Let's do clown hunting at night. Even though they're fake, they're always nice to watch. I mean, I just go with the fucking weapon.
And already there is a bunch of clowns being spotted in my city, guys. The clowns are back.
I just got chased by a clown up into my door of my apartment. I just ran as fast as I could up into the balcony and shut my door. There's a clown in my woods inside my house. And what? A clown.
Tonight we are actually hunting the clowns using the Clown Spotter app, guys. We actually have an app that spots clowns. People in my city use this app.
That sounds like a smart thing. That's what I mean. Like, I get anxiety. It's just like, are you watching? Who's the person there? I mean, oops. Nobody wants to see that. People are watching.
These guys down and put them to a stop. Smash the like button right now, guys. Hit 30,000 likes, and we will come back, hunt down the clown, and unmask the clown, guys. We want to know who the hell is doing this. We have no clue who is behind all these clown sightings. Make sure you guys subscribe right now. We got banger videos all month, guys. Halloween is right around the corner, guys. We got some banger videos coming out. But all that being said, guys, let's get it.
I have to say, I think the funniest part of the whole situation there with her is, you know, my ex-partner and her friends and new partner demand respect and to be left alone. Yet I've been yet to be shown respect at all. Then that's all true. I have yet to be shown any respect. Her friends said, "Oh, your relationship is over." Their relationship ended a long time ago, and it didn't. Going on 3 months now. It's been 3 months. They were together for 11. And simply put, my name was used on that. They slowed down now because I just told them, you're wrong.
Oh my God! This is the
Like, you're wrong.
app, all right? I'm gonna show you right now.
Get your
This
facts
is
straight.
it, okay? So this is.
And I'm just talking about it because I don't talk about it because I want to keep everything quiet and calm, and that's my thing. I'm gonna keep everything quiet and calm, but nobody knows my side, only theirs, and it's time that people know my side. And if you look at that video, they didn't like it.
So we're just gonna check the map and see if we can see
You know,
any clowns that have been spotted.
I think that's what I have to say,
around
is
here,
that it's
and we're actually
ridiculous.
gonna go and look for the clown, guys, and it's gonna be super freaking dangerous. So I don't see any clowns on the app right now, but it actually will notify me on this app if any clowns are spotted in the area. But right now, we're just gonna look around, guys. The news has been saying that a lot of people spot clowns in this park, especially late at night. Ahmed and Scrubs that come here all the time. You've ever seen like clowns here? I know one time, yeah, over there. Oh, this time too. Right on the covert. Oh my God, scariest time of my life. Like, I just got to working. Woo!
Oh my gosh, is a really good ghost hunting guy. used to watch them a lot of the time before my partner and I separated. That was one of my favorites.
Just because they can blend into trick-or-treaters. You don't know if they're actual
I
clowns
quite
or just
enjoyed-
in a costume, guys. But
I
these
quite
clowns are
enjoy his,
dangerous, setting people's houses on fire, guys. Kidnapping children. Oh my god.
Okay, guys, so there's a playground right here. Me and Spencer remember. Ask if we used to come here. A lot of stuff used to happen here. Remember at that trail where someone kidnapped? It was about like 6 years ago. I don't know anything recently.
Oh my god, bro. That looks freaking scary, bro.
Bro, that pathway, you see that pathway? I don't know if you see the camera.
Yeah.
But someone got kidnapped there.
By a clown?
I don't know if it was a clown or anything, but there was clown history there, so I'm not sure. But anyway, you guys want to
Alright.
see what's up over here?
Wow, dude, this is freaking scary, man. Maybe there's a clown in one of these tombs.
My favorite game, guys.
No.
No.
Now, what is my favorite game? I like Doom. I have to say Doom was good, Doom guy. I might.
Look, you can tell it's all the
I might change it for PS4. I might get Doom for the PS4. I don't know. It's just that I'll have to turn off the music, so I don't know.
Dude, that
I mean, yeah, I just,
it sounded like it was like pretty far away, like maybe down there somewhere.
Yeah, it was really cool.
I don't know, bro.
You
too.
have to stay here?
Nah, we can just like keep on exploring. Hello? I don't know, bro. What is that?
The microphone. It connects to someone.
It does? That's like a sprinkler system.
That looks like the shower head.
Yeah. Dude, I don't know. What the hell? It looks like a
Like I say, I think the one thing that would bother me, because it doesn't really bother me, I guess, like being right now not having a partner, like it sucks, but it's also like my ex, you know, she wasn't really an attention. She needed attention a lot. But when I'm saying that, like it was if you wanted to go out, it was no, you can't go out without me, you can't do this, that, couldn't hang out with my friends, she'd get upset. It was a lot, so I guess it was the best for everybody, I mean, better for me. It's what bugs me is that her and him are together, like, you know, right now.
That's freaking scary, guys.
I'm not touching that.
I think that's like a clown's doll, like a clown owns that.
Oh my god, it looks like an actual lure or something. Bro, it's definitely a lure. 100%.
I don't know. Should I keep it?
No. Okay, I'm scared. I feel like this one right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I have to say, is that, that's what bothers me, is the thing. But the line is what really, I guess, infuriates me every time I think about it. And like you saw, like her and her friends they've done nothing wrong. Like I said, they weren't just bunking in with each other and staying over, you know, poking and prodding at each other. And they had sex multiple times. The only time I'm going to bring that part of it up, just for people who don't understand. I didn't know. Even when I did ask, I was lied to so-and-so's grave that nothing had happened between them. And what I'm saying is that I was taught that no, but when they say that, you're not lying. That's how my mother got the truth out of me, and you can tell why, you know, I've not been, you know, I've gotten better, but right now I'm not really the best guy to be towards sometimes.
Yeah. But if we see one, it's 3 versus 1. We could probably beat it up.
Let's do it. Let's keep going. I don't know if you're going to come along.
This guy has a machete.
So if you zoom in, it's right here. It says it's in the middle of the freaking water.
No, that's the bridge.
You know what I mean?
That's not the one, that's the sewer. That's not
In the sewer.
The sewer we're talking about.
What do you mean? You guys been there before?
Yeah, like,
Like we went how near it, the bridge near it. It's like an old wooden bridge. It's like,
I don't know. It might be real. I'm gonna say it's fake because they're overacting. Like he's all excited and all that. It's just like who in their right mind would go clown hunting? Even if you people, the 45 subscribers said, "Hey, go clown hunting," I'd be like, "Yeah, nope, not doing it, not doing it. You can go away."
There's a sewer too. Oh, there's a sewer and there's a car. Oh my god.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, that's just like a horror scene right there. Holy shit, dude. Okay, it says the clown is just in the water, like, whoa, I think it's right there. What the hell? Right in the freaking tunnel, dude. So should we climb down? Dude, it's saying it's like in the tunnel, bro. How far is open? You see that little door down? Oh my god, okay. Yeah. What if something pops up? I'm scared there will, bro. Like the clown thing is right there. Yo, think there's a clown in there, bro? Why is it open? Why is it open? It's metal bars. Oh, god damn, there's spiders in there. Whoa, there's some. Yeah, you ready to get some of that? Okay, well, I'm saying that the clown is like in here or something. Whoa, 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 whoa. That's not let's go around and check it out. We're gonna go around to the other side of the tunnel because they were saying that there's an actual way we can get inside of the tunnel from the other side. Like, oh my god. Whoa! Dude! Oh, that's gross, bro. Oh my god. No, there's like millions of spiders. You can't even see them on camera, guys, but there's like, honestly, hundreds of spiders. Oh my god, okay. So, yeah, we gotta go through this tunnel of spiders to get to. Oh. Alright. Yeah, you go first, bro. I'm like, seriously? Oh. Okay. Spiders are my number one fear, guys. Okay, let's do this. Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Oh, no, there's one right. Oh my god. No. Oh my god. You feel a spider on you? I don't know. It's like spider hair. It's wet. Okay, so how do we get underneath the tunnel? Wait, there's sewers here. Oh damn. That's like a Pennywise looking sewer, though. Oh yeah, can you do the water in here? Okay. Want to go first or side? Okay. Yeah, I can go. Dude, I'm getting really scared right now. Holy shit. Oh my god. Yo. It's all the water in there. Yeah, the sewer's right there.